The first person to say a salary number in the interview just lost thousands of dollars. Not because they're underqualified, but because they spoke first.
Wait, that sounds dramatic. You're telling me the actual words coming out of your mouth can cost you a raise before you even start the job?
Exactly. There's a psychological effect called anchoring. The first number mentioned in any negotiation becomes the gravitational center. Everything else orbits around it.
So if a recruiter asks, "What are your salary expectations?" and I blurt out 85,000, that number is now the ceiling, not the floor.
Worse. If the role was budgeted for 110, you just handed back 25 grand and they'll thank you for it. They were never going to say, "Actually, we pay more."
Okay, that physically hurts. But here's the trap: most people feel like they have to answer. The recruiter asks, there's silence, and panic takes over.
That silence is the entire game. Recruiters are trained to ask early and let the pause do the work. The discomfort makes you fill it, usually with a number that's too low.
So the move isn't to give a great number. It's to not give the number at all, at least not first. How do we actually do that without sounding evasive?
Right, because dodging badly is its own problem. If you say, "I'd rather not discuss that," you sound difficult. The goal is to redirect, not refuse.
Let's give people the exact words. Script 1, the classic flip. When they ask your expectations, you say, "I'd love to learn more about the role first. Do you have a budgeted range for this position?"
I love that because it's polite and it's a real question. Most postings do have a range. You're just asking them to share what they already know.
And 9 times out of 10, they'll give you a range. The moment they say 100 to 120, the anchor is theirs, not yours.
But what about the stubborn recruiter? Some are coached to bounce it right back. "We'd like to hear your number first." Now what?
Script 2, the gentle deflection. You say, "I'm flexible and I'm sure we can find a fair number. I trust your team has a range in mind. What were you targeting for this hire?"
That's smooth. You sound collaborative, not combative. But say they truly won't budge and demand a figure. At some point you have to play.
Then you anchor high, but anchor smart. Never a single number. Always a range, and make the bottom of your range the middle of what you actually want.
Say that again, because that's the part everyone gets wrong. If I want 110, I don't say 110.
You say, "Based on my research and experience, I'm looking at roles in the 115 to 130 range." Now even if they negotiate down, you land near your real goal.
And the research part matters. You can't just invent a range. Where do people get real numbers so they're not bluffing?
Levels.fyi for tech, Glassdoor, PayScale, and honestly, LinkedIn Salary Insights. But the best source is people. Message someone in that role and ask what a fair band looks like.
Here's a turn most people miss though, timing. The early salary question is a screening tool. The real negotiation happens after they've decided they want you.
That's huge. Leverage doesn't exist at the start. Once they've invested 4 interviews and they're imagining you on the team, the whole dynamic flips in your favor.
Which is why your job in early rounds is just to stay in the game without pinning yourself down. Delay the number until they're emotionally bought in.
And when the offer finally comes, do not accept on the call. Even if it's great. Script 3, thank you, I'm really excited. Can you send that in writing so I can review the full package?
Because the full package is more than base salary. Sign-on bonus, equity, PTO, remote flexibility, those are all negotiable, and they cost the company less than raising base.
So if they can't move on salary, you pivot, I understand the base is fixed. Could we look at a signing bonus or an extra week of vacation? You almost never get a flat no.
And the quiet superpower through all of this? Silence. After you state your range, stop talking. Let them respond. The next person to speak loses ground.
That's the whole loop, isn't it? Make them anchor first. If forced, anchor high with a range. Delay until they're committed. Then negotiate the entire package, not just base.
And remember, this isn't being greedy. The company already has a budget. Negotiating just means you don't volunteer to be paid less than they plan to pay.
One conversation, handled right, can be worth more than a year of raises. The same effort, the same job, just smarter words at the right moment.